Hey friends, welcome to the middle of my workday. Yes, I work a day job, and I very recently had a conversation with someone who's taking a big step in ministry. Very excited for them, but there was this big concern, and I totally understand it. They're stepping into what probably requires them to work another job. I do understand the struggle that comes with the idea of being bivocational. I really think that there's two main issues that we deal with, and the first is emotional, and the second is practical. First, emotional. You know, not too long ago, it was thought that to be a bivocational pastor meant that you lacked financial support. And it came with all kinds of self-image issues like, am I a second-rate preacher? Or maybe I'm just not a dynamic enough leader to rally people to support this vision. And it was common when you planted a church to lay out a plan towards financial stability, which included a salary and benefits for the senior pastor. Now, if you were well connected with one of those major denominations, it could also mean that they guaranteed a certain number of years, 2 to 3 years in support until you got on your feet. From there, it was the senior pastor's job to reach what's called critical mass. And this means that you have a certain number of people that are faithful attendees. And then what you do is you have to get a certain percentage of them tithing and giving regularly. And if you did have to pick up another job outside of the church to support your family, it was an absolute last resort, sometimes even accompanied by a sense of shame. So the emotional struggle with bivocational ministry is real, folks. Now, the second issue is practical. I totally get this one because there's this looming question. Will I have enough time to really give the church what it needs? I mean, a baby church needs a lot of tender love and care. If I have to work a 9-to-5 job somewhere else, won't I be pulled away from that? And this practical issue keeps so many pastors I know awake at night. It's not like anyone gets into ministry because they don't care about people, right? And fear of not doing enough is always at its peak when it involves people you care about. So I totally understand that both these emotional and practical issues are really tough. But let me tell you, as a former full-time pastor who's done the big church thing, you're gonna have those same emotional and practical issues anyway. Now, the emotional side, man, when all you do 70 hours a week for a living is church work and you bomb your sermon on Sunday, you're gonna feel like you aren't good enough. And just wait until an emerging leader that you invested in quits on you. You're gonna feel like you aren't a dynamic enough leader to keep people connected to the vision. Now, the practical side, just try being by a passing church member's bedside 1 hour, and then trying to run an organization with lots of administrative duties while everyone in it expects you to meet their individual spiritual needs. Folks, you are not going to have enough time in that scenario either. So what I'm telling you is that ministry is tough no matter what. Whether you're a full-time vocational pastor or bivocational, each comes with their own sets of challenges and similarities. But I've come to believe that being a bivocational pastor has enormous benefits, and there are others just like me. We don't see being bivocational as a sign of failure. It isn't based simply on a lack of finances either. For me, it has become my first choice, not a last resort. Let me share with you what I'm discovering in my own journey. Maybe some of you will find it helpful. I can think of at least 4 reasons why I have fallen in love with bivocational ministry. Number 1 is relationships. Guys, you're gonna be able to make real friends. When people walk through your doors, you won't be tempted to see money signs over their heads because your ability to feed your family does not depend on them joining your church. There can be this sort of transactional undertone when you know that your ability to provide for your family depends on people's satisfaction with your performance. And this is normal at any job that you work at. But now imagine that that doesn't exist in the church. Getting your primary source of income from another source as a pastor means that you can get close to people with a finance-free agenda. And when you do talk about money, you can do it without a shy bone in your body because it'll be a call to something that's beyond you. And this brings me to number 2, which is mission. This is big, guys, and it's so simple. Less funds will be needed for overhead. More funds will be able to go to the mission of the church. Furthermore, with reduced administrative overhead, your church will be able to be more missionally aggressive with their time. You'll be able to invest yourself into the lives of people that may never be able to give back to you. So in short, I'm finding that being bivocational has helped me be a better giver as a pastor. Number 3 is health. Now, remember when I mentioned the pressure that pastors feel to reach critical mass in their church attendance so that they can rally enough donors to support the financial obligations that the church has? This struggle is real. Here's the math. 10 tithing families equals a salary. If you don't want salaries to exceed 50% of the church budget, y'all got to get 20 tithing families attending your church. Now, most folks only give about 2 to 3% towards their local churches. So you probably need closer to 100 families in your church to really sustain your salary, plus all those ministries that keep everybody in your church satisfied. And here's the deal. Unsatisfied church attendees soon become church shoppers at other local churches. And then you're left trying to find more and more families to come in through the front door because the back door is opening far more often than you'd like. This is what I call a rat race. It's a race for growth. Now, should you work hard to see your own family provided for? Absolutely. And don't we want our churches to be effective? Yes. And I've been finding that through choosing bivocational ministry, I'm able to place more focus on the health of our church, trusting that growth will be the natural byproduct over time. And I'll be the first to tell you, the more consumer-minded church folks won't stick around for this process. And it'll be hard when they leave because you're probably going to actually like some of them. But this is the type of culture where discipleship can really flourish because you can't disciple a crowd. And when you're focused on the numbers because of financial pressures, you are going to really struggle with discipleship. Now, number 4 is proximity. Simply put, working a job outside the walls of the religious institution is going to give you access to people in the community you would not normally get to interact with. Furthermore, working alongside everyday non-religious people is going to make you a more real and authentic version of yourself. So you want to reach people outside the 4 walls of the church, huh? Then you're going to have to be pretty unreligious and authentic. And you're going to have to actually spend time around these people. Now, I know of no better way to do this than to actually go do your work out in the community. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 4 reasons: relationships, mission, health, and proximity. But being a bivocational pastor also has some huge challenges. Very quickly, here are my 3 biggest challenges that I've had. Number 1, you cannot be pastor-centric. In other words, you are not Superman, and you cannot pretend you are. If you try to take the whole church on your own shoulders, man, it's going to cripple you in less than a year. Trust me, I've felt the weight of this one a couple times, and I've been pretty blessed to have enough people around me that point out when they see my legs buckling under that weight. You cannot do it all yourself. Which brings me to the second challenge. Number 2, you must activate other members of the church. Go read Ephesians 4. It talks very clearly about the whole body needing each other. Then what you do is you make yourself obsessed with raising up others to do the work of the ministry. And you know what? This is probably the greatest blessing there is within a challenge, because we actually don't find anywhere in the Bible that advocates for anything other than the whole body working together. One person doing it all is probably the most anti-biblical thing that could ever happen in the church. And if you choose to be a bivocational pastor, good news. It will be impossible to be a one-person show. You know what else? No one should expect you to be. Now the third challenge, and finally, become a beast at time management. If you're sloppy with your time, you will not make it as a bivocational pastor. Simple as that. Your work will suffer, the church will suffer. Worst of all, your family will suffer. So guys, cut the Netflix binging, get to bed on time, rise early, get time with the Lord, make yourself a daily checklist and attack it. You know what else? Go get yourself a big calendar for the wall, then sit with your wife and plan together. Block out certain evenings where your family does special stuff like family game night or pizza movie night. We do that every Monday and Friday. In other words, make sure that your family gets real, scheduled, sacred time together. So there you have it, the benefits and challenges of bivocational ministry. Now, if you've experienced any of this or you've witnessed it play out for others in your life and you have thoughts on this, I would love to hear more from you. So let's talk about it.